Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. American Pickers Danielle Colby mourns death of Frank Fritz. American Pickers star Frank Fritz died yesterday, and his former co-stars from the hit History Channel reality show have offered their condolences. Danielle Colby took to Instagram to pay tribute to Frank and remember their times together making the hit series. Here is what Danielle said about Frank's death and how it affected her, as well as her great memories of spending time with him. Danielle Colby pays tribute to Frank Fritz. Mike Wolfe announced that Frank Fritz died just 2 weeks before his 59th birthday. The longtime American Pickers stars had been friends since childhood, although that became strained in recent years when Mike had a hand in firing Frank from the show and moving on without him. After being fired, Frank suffered a stroke in 2022. He had been recovering since that time with a close friend serving as his guardian. However, his time came to an end on September 30. Mike was the first person to let the world know about his passing. Now Danielle Colby, who co-starred in American Pickers with the duo and remains a part of the cast to this day, has paid tribute to her old friend on Instagram. The first thing she noted was how Frank could make everyone around him laugh. "Frank, I will miss your ability to make everyone laugh, your love for talking tattoos, your epic collections, but what I will miss the most are those little glimpses of vulnerability from time to time," she wrote, including a few photos. "Frank, you loved your cat and your mama, and we bonded on those things. You will be missed for all of these reasons and so many more," she continued. "Rest in peace, Road Dog." Frank Fritz's death came as a surprise. The last few updates on Frank Fritz indicated that he was recovering from his stroke. His friend and court-appointed guardian, Chris David, said that Frank was getting skilled long-term nursing care as he continued to recover. Midwestone Bank, the conservator, had begun investing Frank's money to generate long-term income to help pay for these needs. Frank continues to rely on long-term skilled nursing care, so it is imperative that his assets are properly managed and wisely invested to support his long-term needs, the bank noted in July. Despite the long-term nursing care, it seemed Frank's road to recovery was a long one. However, that road ended yesterday when Frank passed away. "I love you, buddy, and will miss you so much. I know you're in a better place," Mike wrote in his tribute. Danielle Colby, a constant presence on American Pickers and a beloved figure among fans of the show, had an infectious energy, a fascination with history, and a passion for the peculiar treasures that lie buried in the past. But today she wore a much different look than the one we had all come to know and love. With a heart heavy and words tinged with sorrow, Danielle Colby mourned the passing of her longtime friend and former American Pickers co-host Frank Fritz. Danielle and Frank shared a unique friendship, a bond formed not just by years of digging through barns and backyards, but by mutual respect and understanding for each other's quirks. Frank's knowledge of antiques, his keen eye for detail, and his sharp humor made him a fan favorite, but it also made him a beloved friend to Danielle. She knew his heart as few did, and it was a heart she saw beat strong in moments that didn't make it to television. They shared countless memories, from late-night road conversations to spontaneous laughter over a killer find. In every dusty artifact they uncovered, they discovered little pieces of each other's stories. As news of Frank's passing reached her, Danielle took to social media, her words like raw notes, heavy and poignant, echoing the silence left by Frank's departure. "Frank wasn't just my co-host," she began, "he was my friend and partner in this crazy journey. We shared so many memories, so much laughter, and some of the hardest days I can remember." In every line there was a heartbeat, a cadence of memories and sorrow that spoke volumes about the gravity of her loss. Danielle was known for her fierce loyalty and deep empathy, and as she continued to share her feelings, fans felt the aching emptiness left in the wake of Frank's passing. She reminisced about the thrill of the hunt that fueled them both, the unique dance they performed in every dusty barn and abandoned warehouse, each of them playing their parts to bring history back to life. Frank had an uncanny ability to spot a diamond in the rough, his eyes lighting up when he found something special, something with a story. Danielle, with her boundless curiosity, always wanted to hear that story, unraveling each find with questions and awe, often coaxing a smile from Frank even on tough days. Reflecting on their years together, Danielle mentioned the time they found an old jukebox from the 1950s. It had been forgotten in a barn somewhere in the Midwest, buried under decades of dust and debris. Frank's eyes lit up, she recalled, like a kid in a candy store. He saw not just an old jukebox but the history it carried, the music, the memories of people who danced to its tunes. Frank knew, in ways that few could understand, that treasures weren't always about monetary value. They were about connecting the present to the past, about finding meaning in objects left behind, a skill Danielle always admired in him. The fans had often seen a gruff but humorous side to Frank, a man whose passion for picking was rivaled only by his dedication to the craft. But Danielle knew the quieter moments, the parts of Frank that others rarely saw. In those moments he was introspective, often reflecting on the world and its changes. He was a man who saw value in the old ways, in preserving history so that it wouldn't slip away unnoticed. Frank taught me to see things differently, Danielle shared, her voice breaking as she recounted his philosophy on life. He taught me that every item had a history, a purpose. He taught me that we could hold onto pieces of the past even as we moved forward. But with every memory she shared, Danielle was also acutely aware of the reality. The road they traveled was now one she'd walk alone. She opened up about the challenges Frank had faced, especially in recent years. She knew that his struggles were part of who he was, and though they'd grown apart professionally, Danielle had never stopped caring about Frank. She had seen the toll that fame could take, how it could wear down even the strongest people. But even in his toughest days, Frank had fought to stay true to himself, to the passion that had first drawn him to picking. Frank loved this world and this life we had, she wrote, and he loved the fans. He wanted them to know how much he appreciated them, even if he didn't always say it. In Danielle's tribute, there was an unspoken acknowledgement that American Pickers would never be the same. The dynamics had shifted, and though the show would go on, Frank's absence was a loss that could never be replaced. Fans would remember his quirky smile, his love for old toys, and the way he could turn a rusty sign into a prize worth cherishing. But Danielle would remember the man behind the scenes, the friend who was there when the cameras were off, who shared her excitement for the thrill of the pick, who understood the deeper meaning in the hunt for forgotten treasures. As Danielle wrapped up her heartfelt message, she addressed her fans, many of whom were grieving alongside her. "Thank you for loving Frank," she wrote. "Thank you for understanding him, for supporting him, and for letting him know he was appreciated. He wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he had a heart full of stories, and he loved sharing them with you." In her words, there was a raw honesty that resonated deeply with fans, a reminder that behind every public figure, there was a human being with hopes, fears, and dreams. Danielle promised to carry Frank's legacy forward in her own way, honoring the passion he brought to American Pickers and the memories they created together. She acknowledged that though he was gone, he'd left a lasting impact on her and everyone who'd watched him. Every time she stumbled across an unusual find or felt that thrill of unearthing something forgotten, she'd feel Frank's presence, a gentle reminder of the friend she'd lost but would never forget. With her farewell, Danielle Colby closed a chapter in her life, a chapter that had been filled with laughter, adventure, and a friendship that transcended television screens. And though her heart ached, she knew that Frank's spirit would live on in every artifact, every dusty relic, and every story yet to be told. As she said her final goodbye, fans around the world joined her in mourning, holding close their memories of Frank Fritz and the timeless magic he brought to American Pickers.